Welcome to the TBD Leadership by Design podcast. Leadership reflections for the moments that stretch you. I'm DrAngelaBatista, the Transformation by Design coach. What if the key to your next season of growth isn't working harder, but remembering what used to bring you joy? Think about that for a moment. When was the last time you did something simply because you enjoyed it? Not because it was productive, not because it moved a project forward, and not because it checked something off your list, just because it brought you joy. Somewhere along the way, many of us stopped doing that. We became responsible, busy, focused on outcomes. And while there's nothing wrong with that, I sometimes wonder if, in the process, we've lost touch with strengths that have been with us all along. Today, I want to talk to you about growth, joy, and the strengths we may have forgotten. Too often, when people think about growth, they picture effort, working harder, learning more, taking on bigger challenges. And those things matter. But I've been reflecting lately on another side of growth, the role of joy, the role of play, the role of doing something simply because it lights you up. Growth doesn't always begin with pressure. Sometimes it begins with permission. Permission to explore, permission to experiment, permission to enjoy the process. And no question, I think many leaders need that reminder right now, more than ever. A few years ago, I spent Christmas in the Dominican Republic with my parents. It was a quieter season than usual. Life slowed down. I didn't have a packed schedule. I wasn't in endless meetings. I decided to leave my long list of things to accomplish at home. And during that trip, I spent hours working through a paint-by-number flower book I picked up on a whim. An entire book. I guess I should say that I have never drawn or painted. We didn't have access to these things when I was growing up on the island. And even when we came to the United States, we were too poor for such things. Very small figure sticks are really all I can draw. And honestly, not very well either. I eventually learned to love art, but anything related to engaging in this type of art practice myself has always been terrifying. So if you had asked me before that trip whether painting flowers was an important use of my time, I probably would have laughed. But something happened while I was doing it. I became completely absorbed in it. The colors, the patterns, the process, the quiet. I wasn't trying to be good at it. I wasn't trying to produce something impressive. I was simply enjoying it in the moment. And it reminded me of something important. Not everything valuable has to be productive. The more I reflected on that experience, the more I realized it was revealing strengths I don't always pay attention to. Patience, focus, creativity, attention to detail, the ability to be present. Those strengths didn't suddenly appear, they were already there. The painting simply created a space for me to notice them. And I wonder how many strengths we overlook because we're moving too fast to see them. This idea closely connects to something I often discuss in leadership development, the concept of a growth mindset. A growth mindset is built on the belief that our abilities can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. It encourages us to embrace challenges, learn from setbacks, and remain open to growth. But here's what I find interesting. Curiosity sits at the center of all of that. You can't learn if you're not curious. You can't grow if you're afraid of experiment. And you can't experiment if every moment feels like a test. Sometimes the fastest path to growth is giving yourself permission to explore without worrying about the outcome. That's where play comes in. And before you tune me out because play sounds childish, stay with me. I did not play much as a child, so this idea always makes me feel quite uncomfortable. Like visiting a foreign country where you have zero understanding of the language and culture. But although later in life I have learned that play isn't about being immature, when we play, we create space for joy, creativity, spontaneity, and discovery. There's lots of research on this. According to the National Institute for Play, play is vital for adult mental health. Their research shows that 89% of adults now appreciate the importance of leisure time, while playfulness is linked to higher emotional intelligence and 61% lower stress levels. Incorporating play reduces burnout, boosts problem solving by sparking brainwaves, and strengthens social resilience. In other words, play creates many of the conditions that helps us grow and become better leaders. And yet, it's one of the first things most adults abandon, especially leaders. I see this all the time in coaching. Leaders who are incredibly capable, highly accomplished, deeply committed, but exhausted. And when I ask what they do for fun, they often have to think about it. Not because they don't deserve joy, because somewhere along the way they stop making space for it. I think about another source of joy in my own life, traveling with my much-loved pooch, Toby. Many of you know Coach Toby. He has been my travel companion for many years. Since he was a puppy, we've taken road trips all over the country together. At this point, I have visited every state within the United States except Alaska. My little pooch Toby has been to many of them with me. Coach Toby has traveled more than most people in my family. He has traveled by car, bus, train, plane, and even by boat. But getting back to my reflection, even though we cannot travel with a GPS to get us where we are going, if you've ever traveled across the United States by car, you know things rarely go exactly as planned. There are missed turns, unexpected stops, beautiful discoveries, moments that force you to adapt. And what I've realized is that those trips aren't only for fun. They also reveal strengths, curiosity, flexibility, adventure, and adaptability. The willingness to keep exploring when you don't know exactly what's around the next corner. For me, traveling is the container that gave me the space, the push, and the inspiration to explore externally and internally. Again, those strengths were always there. The experience simply gave them room to show up. And that's the question I've been thinking about lately. What if some of your greatest strengths are hiding inside the things that bring you joy? Not inside another assessment, not inside another professional development course, but inside the activities that make you feel energized, curious, and fully yourself. The things you look track of time doing, the things you loved as a child, the things you keep returning to when no one is watching. Maybe those aren't distractions for your growth. Maybe they're clues. So here's a simple reflection for you. Think about these 3 questions. What brought you joy as a child? What activity helps you lose track of time today? What strengths show up when you're doing those things? Don't rush the answers. Sit with them. You might discover something important. This week, choose one activity that brings you joy. Not because it's productive, not because it helps you achieve a goal, simply because it makes you feel more like yourself. Then afterward, ask yourself, what strengths was I using while I was doing that? You may discover that strengths you need for the next season of growth have been with you all along. They're simply waiting for you to notice them. Thanks so much for listening to Leadership by Design. If this resonated with you, share it with someone in your circle, a colleague, a friend, or someone else navigating their own leadership moments. And if you do, tag me at DrAngelaBatista. I love to see it and celebrate it with you. Save this episode so you can come back to it when you need it. These reflections are for the moments that stretch you, the ones that don't feel polished, and the decisions you make anyway. To learn more about my work, visit transformationbydesign.co. Lead with purpose. Lead with heart. Your transformation starts now. You've got this.